Dean's going to incriminate himself.
I don't think I will, but
It's a statute of limitations.
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're good to go.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Broken Knock Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris DePerna. Beside me is Miss Megan DePerna. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Enjoying the cold weather?
Not at all.
Me neither. I'm not.
I'm really
It
not
sucks.
enjoying it.
It sucks. Yeah. But hey, it's almost Christmas time, and I guess you want cold weather.
To an
I don't know.
extent.
To an extent.
Not her.
I'd prefer sunshine and 70 degrees, but I live in Pennsylvania now, so
Yeah. This is
we
no
don't get
more
that.
no more southern or southern.
You will
like
Sunday.
South Carolina.
Wait till Sunday. You'll get some sun, and Monday it'll be cold again.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
going to get
Yeah,
60
it's
degrees.
Pennsylvania weather. Pennsylvania weather. That's the way it goes. But also here we got Mr. Ken Reese. How you doing?
Good. I'm ready for some stories.
Ready for some stories? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good podcast.
Uh-huh.
It's one we've been trying to get lined up for a while, and this certain guest here is hard to get a hold of sometimes, especially whenever he's out trying to kill deer.
Yeah. That's right.
With that said, our this podcast here is one that, like I said, we've talked about doing for a while, and we've wanted to get lined up. And it's going to be a little bit unique because I'm sure most of our listeners out there, if not all, are hunters, and maybe at some point in time have had some sort of conversation or something with a game officer in their state. So this was one that we wanted to do because you hear people make negative comments about game officers. You hear them make positive comments, but I think a lot of times what happens is the game officers themselves can't really say a whole lot because they're in uniform. Well, fortunately for us, we have one that is now retired. So we're thinking that there's some things that could be talked about that couldn't have been talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
So I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but we're going to see if that's the case. So with that said, we have Mr. Doug Bergman with us. Doug,
Hi.
how you doing?
Good.
Doug, for those of you who don't know, and if you watch this, you guys will see that we had to hold off because he had to grow his beard out and grow his hair long.
That was the
and-
first thing I did was quit shaving.
in order to do this podcast. But if you are in southwestern Pennsylvania, chances are at some point in time you probably saw Doug somewhere. So now he's on the podcast, and we got some stories we're going to talk about. So, and alongside of Doug would be his wonderful son who works here at Creek Archery, Mr. Dean Bergman. How you doing, Dean?
Oh, good. Happy to be here, as always.
I hope you are, because we're hoping to see if we can't find out what kind of illegal activities you got involved in when your dad was a game warden.
I don't think I did anything, but we could check that out.
All right. So, Doug, how long were you? I guess, we always kind of just start out by getting people to just talk about, themselves and what they did. And so I guess let's just get right into that. How long were you in the Pennsylvania Game Commission?
So I went into Ross Leffler School of Conservation in 2012, March 9th, maybe. The academy is a full year, 52 weeks. Anybody that makes it through that academy deserves recognition just for the 52-week period.
Right.
Now it's a shorter, I think it's 43 weeks or whatever, but it's grueling. It is. I went in at the age of 45. You're up at 4:30, PT every day. Tuesday, Thursday was run days. You didn't hit the sack till 10:30 at night. Sometimes they rousted you at 1:30 just because, and then back up at 4:30 and start all over. But it was a cool deal.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the greatest things I ever experienced at 52 weeks. Had a wife, 2 kids. They were at home. I would go out there on a Sunday, come back on a Friday, not talk to anybody till Saturday, and it was week after week.
Yeah.
So it was a good time. So graduated 2013, March 2013, and I was in the field for a little over 10 years, but the year in the academy was a little over 11 years. So started in Fayette County, 2.5 years, 2013 to October 10th of 2015, transferred to Allegheny County, southern Allegheny County. Did the rest of my time there.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers have had some conversations with you, whether it have been at like you used to do a lot of like the sportsman's shows and that as well.
I
mean,
did.
you know, like
Yeah,
like Monroeville and
the Monroeville show was in my Allegheny County district, so I was, officer in charge of that, OIC of that. So, ran into a lot of guys, was usually there every day.
yeah.
Between there and here at the shop,
Yeah.
Yeah.
run into a lot of guys here at the shop.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be amazed at all them friends that you'd have that you didn't know you had.
I bet.
Yeah. Hey, I know you. I shoot with you down at Creek Archery.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
It's, I could imagine. I'm sure that there's a lot of stories we can get into. But what drove you to want to be an officer?
There was just a lot of things. I've been a hunter all my life, hunter trapper. We started young. Grandfather had a dairy farm, so we grew up in that atmosphere. My dad was a big hunter, and it's just you get to the point where you think that'd be cool to do. I originally tried for the 27th class, and I missed the cutoff by 3 points. And I was a lot younger. I was in my 30s that time around. And then I didn't test for the 28th class, but I did retest for the 29th class. So then you make it. And,
What is so someone going in, like, what does that testing usually entail?
it starts out civil service exam,
Okay.
and it's just a conglomeration of everything: biology, laws, common sense. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
And you never know how you're going to score. People would ask me, young people would ask me when I was an officer, what do I need to study? And I would always tell them, you can't apply till you're 21. So when you finish high school, you're 18. So take some classes, whether it's criminal justice or some type of biology, and get as much knowledge as you can into you for stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've done everything. Construction, worked at a golf course 21 years. So it was just a mix of a whole bunch of stuff that helped me get in.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was rough at 45. I told everybody I wasn't going to let them beat me physically, but academically, man, it was rough.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I'd been out of high school for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to cram for a test, take the exam, and then dump it because it was just forever changing.
Yeah.
And once that exam was done, you had to move on.
Right.
Oh, while Dean was running around.
Yeah, I
in
was gonna say, I'm
diapers.
sure, Dean, you
You know,
you were
so
helpful.
well,
Oh,
the first time, how old were you when I got in? 14? No,
I had to be younger.
you were 9. Jenny was 14. But the first time around, he would have been way younger. Like, it would have never worked because luckily when I did get in, our daughter was old enough to get him off the school bus, take care of him till mom got home, because Rachel, she continued to work through the whole thing,
Right.
so.
Yeah, because I guess technically, do you have a schedule as a game officer, or you're just pretty much like a 24/7 guy?
Yeah, I mean, it's, once you get out, then, yeah, you're running and gunning, which is kind of what led to the retirement, and we'll get to that. in a
Right.
bit.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's, that 52-week period, your wife and kids are at home, and you're in Harrisburg,
Yeah.
and you're not coming home till Friday. And I'm telling you, I was so exhausted. I would drive 3 hours home from Harrisburg, get home Friday night, and I'm like, don't talk to me till tomorrow, at least noon tomorrow.
Right.
The wheels slow down a little bit here.
And it was brutal.
Did you have any classmates in that just couldn't hang, just couldn't do it, that bailed out? Or
Back then, I don't know what it is now, but back then it was about a 6% attrition rate. We started with 36 cadets, and we graduated 30. We lost 6.
Yeah.
Some left on their own, some left on other reasons.
Right.
But it's a process.
Yeah.
If and when is what they would tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, technically, you're at a high level, officer, police officer. I mean, you can't. I would think you can't just hand those positions out like you're handing out Halloween candy.
You're carrying a gun and a badge. You gotta.
Yeah.
It's unique. It's a unique academy. It's not like a police academy. It's all done in house. And, it was the greatest year of my life.
Yeah.
It was. It was pretty cool.
Is it close to the academy for the state troopers?
Right down the road.
Right down the road from
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Fish, PSP, and game is kind of all right there.
Okay. Share any kind of facilities at all? Or?
No, we ran through there a lot of time or two on Thursday morning. we would make a loop and come up through PSP, and So, but it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. So, I guess, Dean, growing up, I'll ask you, how was it for you being, the son of somebody who was a game officer? And, some people might think, well, it's a big deal. It's just another job. But I got to imagine, as a hunter and having buddies that were hunters and that, did you ever, have buddies that, were like, hey, we could do this, but don't tell your dad, you ever run into that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. And it didn't really happen until high school. But I would always have buddies of my own, or people that I didn't know, or people that I didn't like would come up to me and ask me questions and stuff.
Or, hey, can I have your dad's cell phone?
Yeah, or that too.
Yeah.
They'd ask for that. And my answer was always kind of the same. Just kept my head down and either said no or
you just kind of stay out of it.
Yep, just kind of stayed out of it.
Was it a challenge bringing Dean up kind of into hunting, being that's your busy season also? Or
I had started Dean young. He was 5, I think, when we got the mentored youth program, and I started buying him mentored licenses.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't harvest his first deer till he was 7.
Okay.
Now, it was all crossbow. We didn't have a compound for him to shoot, but he's been taking deer since he was 7. So he was light years ahead of me. But I kind of instilled. I was always by the book guy.
Yeah.
It was natural to me.
Right.
I was that pinch point funnel guy, not the pile of corn guy.
Yellow acorns, you don't use yellow acorns.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was I taught him a different way. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the right way.
Well, it is. Yeah.
That's how I was brought up with my dad.
But I always used to tell his sister, I wonder which one of your classmates I can get today. And she would be like, Dad, don't do that. And sure enough, I did.
Oh, I bet you did.
A time or two. Yeah.
So, I guess, speaking of that, because I know there's a lot more to it than just catching people using corn to deer hunt. But that being said, being one of the things, what I don't know, what were the things that would lead you to think that this is an area I need to take a look at, or
in Fayette County or in Allegheny County?
well, Fayette County.
the whole border.
I hate to say it, but probably the whole county you needed to check out.
Fayette County
Sorry.
was fun. I'm telling you, it was fun. You had to drive home with blinders on. But I will say the people in Fayette County would not lie to you. They wouldn't. You caught them, they'd own up to it.
Yeah.
You got me. Yep.
Huh.
Allegheny County? Not so much.
No,
it's going on there, but they're going to lie to you. Probably going to take a hearing. They're probably going to have an attorney. So,
jeez.
Yeah, it's a different atmosphere.
Yeah, you have different culture. It's different culture too.
Yeah. Fayette County, you usually had to look harder for it because it's just a lot more woods. You had to walk a lot. You'd get a couple tips. What you didn't get in Fayette County was injured animal calls because them guys took care of that themselves.
Yeah.
They weren't calling the game commission.
Mm-hmm.
I could imagine because I worked with a guy that was, I guess that was Fayette County that he was from, but I remember him coming into work with a roadkill that. He just saw what happened, and he said, and he brought it in. He started cooking it at work that night.
Yeah,
And that was his way of life.
Yeah.
It truly was just how he was. So I could imagine up there probably wasn't too much laying around. That,
No.
they didn't take care of themselves.
No. I
That's
remember.
just one less trip to Walmart.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Speaking of Walmart,
Oh,
there was this one young man on the mountain. When I encountered him in his tree stand, he had everything from the sporting goods section in Walmart: corn, lollipops, rack blocks, minerals. I mean, it was all there. He bought everything Walmart had. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, they're going to be confused when they get here. Like, they're not going to know where to start. The deer, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he had to spend $400 or $500 at Walmart.
I'll bet. I've watched some YouTube videos recently. Like I kind of like reached the end of the internet when it comes to YouTube. Like I start watching weird shit.
God.
But this video in particular was just a guy that did exactly what you just said there. He went to Tractor Supply and he bought everything they had. And he put out like piles of different things and put trail cameras on it to see what the deer would go to first. And the general consensus is regular corn every single time is what they're going to go to over any of this stuff you see on the market. That's just what they did. No, other things. He put like a whole pizza out there that had pepperoni and sausage and shit on it, like a whole pizza.
Golden Corral buffet for the deer.
He put a whole, like 9 jars of peanut butter that had peanuts sticking out of it, and just all kind of just odd shit, just to see what would eat it. But when it came to the deer, even if it was apple-flavored corn or this flavored corn or whatever.
If the bag said deer on it or if it was just regular corn.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
Didn't make a difference.
Didn't make a difference. They were going to the regular corn every single time. So, I don't know. To me, it just made me realize that if I'm going to buy any of that stuff to put out, you might as well
Don't
just
buy
get
the
the regular
bougie-
corn. Yeah.
you don't
Why
need
spend
bougie
money for
corn.
the extra stuff? So if you're going to do something illegal, do it cheaply. I mean, yes. Don't go for the high dollar stuff.
that's like in the summer when I was grabbing corn for Mike. I was like, is it this kind or is it this kind? He's like, the cherry flavored stuff. I was like,
That's what he uses.
I was
But
like,
just so everybody out there knows, we
what?
do have a lease in Ohio, so
Yeah.
we are allowed to do
we're
this.
talking about Ohio.
What we're talking about here, we can do this. It's on our Ohio property.
I'm like, really? I was like, it's like an extra $15 a bag, dude.
He swears his deer like it better.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at a normal bag of corn from Walmart for like 10 pounds, it's like $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're spending $5 to just hunt over some bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so here in Allegheny County, it was different. Not here, but when I got to Allegheny County, it was different. Of course, it's so populated. The woodlots are smaller. The woodlots are steeper. If you got out of your vehicle in Allegheny County, you were going uphill or downhill because that's where they didn't develop that area.
Right.
And you just walked. And if you found a tree stand, you were probably going to find bait. There was one individual, me and a deputy was after 2 years. I think we were there a dozen times before we finally got him. It was on the edge of a cemetery, and it was a baited stand, corn on the ground. Every time we got there, it was corn, but he was never in the tree stand. Took us the better part of 2 seasons.
To finally
And
intercept them.
we were on our way in, and you could see a silhouette in a tree, and the deputy turned around and he said, "He's here. He's here." I'm like, cool. So,
Cool. Yeah.
so we did the usual. We
Yeah.
went in, and he started questioning him, and I stood right in the corn. I would stand in the corn and let him go through the spill, and I'd be like, "So do you have any idea why I might be here today?" And they always look at the corn. They always do. They look at the corn, they turn back to you, and they say, "No." So listen, I'm going to ask you again. Do you have any idea why I might be here today? And they look at the corn, and they look back at you, and they say, "No." So then at that point, I start kicking my feet around. I'm like, "Do you have any idea? Any at all?" It's probably about the corn. Yeah, that's why I'm here.
So I know you got to have a lot of crazy stories, and a lot of people probably think that you guys just went out and just did game violations, but that's not always the case. I mean, I guess to a point, but not just deer per se or turkey. I mean, I know you've mentioned some stories in the past about dealing with people with just, having birds that they're not supposed to have, or
Yeah.
pets that they're not supposed to have.
Yeah, sugar gliders, hedgehogs, pocket pets. I think I confiscated a kinkajou or two.
What the hell is that?
Six-week-old black wolf from Ohio. That particular individual said she didn't know it was a wolf. And I said, "Where'd you buy it?" She said, "Wolves of Frankenheim." What'd you think it was, a husky? I mean, you went to a place called Wolves of Frankenheim. So,
Oh my God. No, was Alec? Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, the kinkajou was fun because the girl had gotten bitten, and the health department got involved, and they called us. So I went in, and the girl's afraid of the kinkajou now because it bit her, and I'm like, what do I do with this kinkajou? Rogers, Ohio. She bought that at Rogers, Ohio.
At the flea market?
Yeah. It was.
Who the hell sells those at the flea market?
You'd be surprised what you could buy at Rogers. Yeah. So she got it home, and it bit her. I think it bit her on the way home. So now we got a kinkajou that I need to take. Am I going to get bit? I don't know.
Do they carry rabies? Who knows?
Oh, they might.
They probably do.
But yeah, hedgehogs, sugar gliders, they were always fun.
Did you ever locate the sloth that you got
I
caught?
never located the sloth. No. You want to start at the beginning
Let's
of
do
that
it.
story?
Let's do it.
Yeah, why not?
Let's do it. I've heard bits and pieces, and
So
I'm
I
ready
got
for the whole story.
I got a call. This was Allegheny County, Munhall, actually, portion of Allegheny County. And I got a call for a guy that saw a three-toed sloth. Now, he had gone through the local police, animal control. Nobody seemed to want to help this guy. So he ended up at the Game Commission. I'm like, sure, I'll come down and help you. So I went down, and the guy showed me a picture on a cell phone of a three-toed sloth. And it was leaving the edge of the asphalt, going into some grass. And I said, "Where did you take his picture?" And he said, "It was right here." Well, what the guy didn't realize is, as a game warden, you're taught to pay attention to detail.
Right.
So the asphalt I'm looking at has an 8-inch curb and then the grass. And the picture he's showing me is just asphalt and grass. And I'm like, "Hey, man, which way did the sloth go?" He said, "It went that way. It went through the yard, up through that backyard. There's a fence back there, and it headed towards the alley." I said, "Why didn't you catch it?" And he said, "It was going too fast." Ken, do you know anything about sloths?
Yeah, they're not that fast.
They are not fast at all.
No.
They're from South America, Central America. We don't have them in Pennsylvania or Munhall. And at this point, I'm looking at the picture, and I'm like, "Can you text me that picture? I'm going to go look for the sloth, and I'd like to have the picture." So he texts me the picture. And I leave him there, and I circle the block, and I get around the block, and I reverse image search the picture through Google and find the rest of the pictures that the guy, he downloaded the picture.
Yeah.
Because there was no curb on the picture, but there was a curb where he's telling me it was.
Uh-huh.
So I loop back around, and I'm like, "Man, I can't find a sloth." I said, "Do you have an army blanket?" He said, "I do." He said, "I was in the army. I have an army blanket." I said, "Can you do me a favor? If the sloth comes back, just throw the blanket over it. You don't have to chase it because it's really fast. I know you already said it's too fast for you. Throw the blanket over it and then call us back." Never heard from the guy.
He's still out there looking for it.
Never heard back from him.
You might get that call here next month or something.
Well, I mean, why would you do that? Why would you download
Yeah.
a picture off of Google? I mean,
Why go
all
through
I did
that?
was, you know how you can do a reverse image search?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there was the rest of the series of pictures of the sloth leaving the asphalt in the grass. Then he's fully in the grass. Then he's going up a tree. The guy downloaded the picture. He just
All
wanted,
for-
Had to
he-
have been on drugs or something.
He wanted somebody. He wanted somebody to.
Wanted a friend.
Yeah, he wanted a friend.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's three-toed sloth.
Too fast.
I mean, I imagine you probably have endless stories of things that you've had to deal with people.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess I'm sure there was a lot of good ones too. I mean, what would probably be one of the most rewarding cases, I guess, that you were ever on?
Boy, that's. I probably got more reward out of the hunter ed, the programs. You know, some of the cases, you know, the people that would call, they always felt that you were helping them, but the people that were involved in the illegal activity, they were always mad that you were there.
Yeah.
It was never their fault. It was always my fault, you know, so. But yeah, the hunter ed, that was rewarding. As an officer, you do, I had in Allegheny County 13 classes a year. So, you know, just imagine the number of students that would come through those classes.
Yeah.
Young and old.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Dads end up taking it with their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so that was cool. That was, you got to help a lot more people, you know.
Yeah.
In Allegheny County, the injured wildlife was through the roof. So,
I bet.
just the number of people, the number of wildlife, you know, getting crushed by cars or stuck somewhere they shouldn't be. You know, so.
Now, do you guys ever help like with, I should say there's probably dog catchers, but do you ever get calls with like dog cases? I mean, you're getting calls for sloths. So.
No, we wouldn't do domestic.
Yeah.
You know, that was animal control or dog catcher or whatever,
Okay.
whatever the area had.
Yeah. And I know Allegheny County obviously has those. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of animal controls all throughout Allegheny.
Yeah. Huh. Ever seen a mountain lion?
No,
No.
no, I didn't. So the canned answer on the mountain lion is we do not have a breeding population of mountain lions in this state. Do we have cats in this state? We do. There's several people that have permits to have cats. So I'll take you to my end of things of how I'm going to get you to understand how I know we don't have mountain lions.
Okay.
So in Pennsylvania, they sell roughly 43 to 45,000 fur taker license every year.
Okay.
That's trappers, hound hunters, predator callers, in some way, shape, or form are involved in fur taking. In states that have mountain lions, guess who interacts with mountain lions? Trappers, hound hunters, predator callers, they all interact with them. If we had mountain lions, and we have the largest number of fur taker license in the country, don't you think someone would have caught one in a trap, treed one with a dog, or called one in while calling fox and coyotes?
Yeah.
I say that about Bigfoot.
Yeah. So I got buddies that would go out west trapping bobcats, Arizona, New Mexico, and they started running smaller jawed traps because they have mountain lions, and they were going to catch mountain lions. And you ruin an entire day waiting on DCNR to come out and trank the cat, get it out of your trap because you can't keep it. You know, so. But no, I got calls for mountain lions.
I was going to say, yeah.
I would. And yeah, they'd tell me I had the trail camera, and they'd show me the fuzzy, grainy trail camera picture and had this on a tree, and I got this picture. I'm like, can I see the tree? What do you want to see the tree for? Well, because I want to take a picture from the same angle and, you know, get an idea how big this cat is. Oh, well, the tree's gone. We had that area logged. Yeah. So I never got to see the tree, let alone the mountain lion.
Yeah, and you always hear, you talk to guys, and you start talking to guys about mountain lions, and they're just like, oh, yeah, I've seen them, but you call the game commission, and they tell you, no, there's no mountain lions. But like you said,
we don't have a breeding
Yeah.
We don't have a breeding population of mountain lions in the state.
Yeah.
Have we had escapees? Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in the academy, one of the wardens from New York area showed up with a mountain lion in a cage. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Guy had a permit. He passed away, and his wife didn't know what to do with the cat, so he brought it to the training school.
Wow.
And we got to see an actual mountain lion.
Yeah.
Wow.
My dad swore that he saw one up at State College. He said he was up there with a buddy of his, and he said they were driving back, and they stopped on the road. And he goes, and you saw this big cat, and he said you could see the shoulders kind of moving on this cat, and it went away. He goes, yeah, I wasn't causing any ruckus. Saw what I saw. I wasn't going to call anybody. I mean,
yeah, I would.
you know.
I would never try to talk someone out of not believing what they think they saw, but it was always I either had to prove or disprove
Yeah.
that it was a mountain lion.
Right.
So without evidence to prove that it's a mountain lion, then it's
Not a mountain
It's a
lion.
not a
It's
mountain
it's hearsay. Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So even if it was a cat that was held under a permit and it was used to being fed daily by a human and it escaped, what's it going to do? Oh, I'm free. I'm a wild mountain lion now. No, it's going to show up on the first porch and it's going to stay
Yeah.
there till someone feeds it,
Uh-huh.
because that's how it's used to being fed.
Right.
So
Yeah. Just like you feed a squirrel once and then it starts coming back.
yeah, yeah. And then next thing you know, it's in a cage in
Yeah.
a bedroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens. So, what do you say to? Because I know I've heard things like this before. We'll say people that blame the game commission for there being too many coyotes, or because you guys introduce them. Like I guess you go out there at nighttime and put coyotes out in the woods to kill the turkeys. And
Do you know where that story came from?
I don't, but I've heard it float around.
Back in the 80s, there was a warden in Greene County that was having sheep killed. And he didn't know what it was. He wasn't sure. He had to figure it out. So he set a couple snares. And he caught a coyote. And back then, we had ear tags for bobcats. And for whatever reason, he put a radio collar on this coyote and he tagged it with that ear tag from a bobcat. Now, it didn't say bobcat ear tag. It just said PGC. I think it was 033. And he put that on the coyote. Well, the coyote shook the radio collar. He never found it. And somebody killed the coyote later on with this
Dang it.
PGC ear tag.
Really?
PGC 033. And that's where that story originated, that the Game Commission was stalking coyotes.
Stalking
Yeah, I've never been involved in stalking coyotes. I've been involved in removing a couple,
Yeah.
but never stalking them.
All kind of crazy stories
Their
out there.
secret coyote farm out
Yeah,
there.
that's what happened. For whatever reason, he wanted to be able to identify this coyote again. He thought by putting a tracker on it, he could follow back to the den and then kill all the coyotes that were killing the guy's sheep. I guess. I don't know. I wasn't there, so.
Interesting. Well, I know I've heard it before. I've never heard that. So
That's so now you got a dead coyote with a PGC 033 ear
Right.
tag.
Yeah. And then, that just fires it off.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Game Commission stalk coyotes.
Yeah.
So we was lucky if we could handle all the calls we were getting, let alone have
Yeah.
time to go stalk coyotes.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So what would be the majority of the calls that you would get? What would they be geared towards?
I mean, it depends on area again. In Allegheny County, it was definitely injured wildlife.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nonstop. Whether it was an injured squirrel, injured rabbit, injured deer.
And you guys are required to go
Oh, yeah.
answer every call.
Yeah.
Injured squirrel.
Injured
oh my
hawks. It was crazy, and you can't save it all. Everybody wants you to pick up the hawk and take it to Verona to the rehab center and get the wing glued back together. And it just didn't work. Verona was an hour away. You had to drive through a bunch of traffic to get there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm definitely injured wildlife in Allegheny. Fayette County was probably more calls for nighttime activity. Spotlights, either whether hitting the house or shots fired at night, or a lot more of that. Of course, there was a lot more farm fields. In Allegheny County, they don't spotlight; they shoot them under the ambient light in the parking lots at Home Depot.
Or in the Walmart.
They don't need spotlights.
Up on the hill behind Walmart where the back of the store shines.
So
on.
you've been called on calls like that.
Oh, in Allegheny?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I got a guy in Monroeville right behind the Advanced Auto, 7:30 at night over the hillside with a crossbow. Yeah, no hunting license. Of course, you don't need a hunting license at 7:30 at night.
It ain't gonna help you.
Yeah, it's not going to
He
matter.
said he fell asleep. He said he was out there in the daylight and he fell asleep there.
Woke up.
I said, well, you don't have a hunting license to be out here in the daylight either. I mean, what were you doing?
With a crossbow.
Were you hunting and then fell asleep because you didn't have a hunt license, or
So you get a lot of excuses.
yeah, it's usually my fault. Usually was.
I could imagine. So how many people did you have blame you for not being allowed to hunt on Sundays?
You get mixed feelings about it. There's people that still don't like the Sunday hunting. I mean, I think any extra day you can spend in the woods is great.
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it now.
Yeah.
But they, you had to listen to the arguments, and it wasn't. The Game Commission is all for it. It's the legislators. The
Right.
legislators, it's unlawful under statute to hunt on Sundays. So until they remove that and then give the Game Commission full control of the rest of the Sundays, then they'll, start adding more. But they have to take it out of statute.
I think we're at what, three Sundays right now?
Yeah, three consecutive.
Yeah.
Start in November. Usually archery, bear, and deer.
Yeah, I think this year they fell back to back.
They always fall back to back.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
Sunday,
It's usually
Sunday.
It's usually here in 2B, it's the last Sunday in archery, the first Sunday in bear, and then the first Sunday in deer.
Right. Because we did the first Sunday in beer, yeah.
And
Deer.
beer, yeah.
Beer. Yes. Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Take
Speaking
the
of
beer
that,
with
if you ever walk up, I'm sure you've had many cases where you walk up and guys got beer on them too. And
Yeah, I had a couple HUIs
yeah.
hunting under the influence. Yeah,
Was it in Fayette County?
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
A lot of interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So, I guess what would be one of the biggest deer you've ever had to take off of somebody?
I'd say probably pushing about 150, 160. I've seen some pretty good deer. Allegheny County has some pretty good deer.
Yeah.
And that's what drives people to do a bunch of stupid shit. We have this antler affliction, and it's sad. I don't know if it's all peer pressure or they gotta do whatever they can to get those large rack deer,
Yeah.
But usually, I didn't feel bad taking them off of them. If I was able to prove they took it wrongly, it was going with me. It was
Right.
evidence. It was going to go to court too, because they were probably going to take a hearing. Because now I proved that they were doing something wrong, so they didn't want to look bad.
Right.
You ever have a hold of one antler on one side and the hunter has a hold of the antler on the other side, and you guys are playing who's going to
Tug of war.
play wishbone and Thanksgiving?
No. There's been some good cases. I wasn't directly involved in a couple of them. The white deer in Perryopolis.
Yeah.
That was a good case.
Right.
That was a really good case. That was put together on Thanksgiving. A deputy who will remain unnamed left his Thanksgiving dinner and went and found that deer at the butcher shop. So I give them guys credit. The deputies, they get boatloads of credit,
Right.
because they do what they do for very little.
I was going to say, those guys, it's not like they received like a full
They
pay,
don't.
or a lot of them are volunteers, aren't they?
Well, they're not considered volunteers. They get a stipend. But I can tell you, at today's price of gas, your stipend is probably going to be less than a tank of gas
Yeah.
you're going to spend driving around.
Wow.
So,
Good for them.
yeah, you got to have a good heart to do it as a deputy. I couldn't do it as a deputy if I wasn't getting paid for it,
Right.
Stipend wasn't enough, so.
Dean, have you ever tagged along with Doug on anything?
Did a couple
I
rides.
have. It was
Yeah?
it was usually on skip. Take your kid
Take
to
your
work
kid
day.
to work
Yeah.
day.
I didn't want to sit in the office with my mom, so I begged him to let me go with him, and he would always have to get the okay from the boss, and
Yeah.
I got to go. It was
The vest
super
on and
cool.
everything,
It was-
or
no? I just
stay in
sat
the
in
car?
I just sat in the car.
Yeah,
So
the truck.
They can't be directly involved
Right.
in
Yeah.
any law
Yeah.
enforcement. I did a couple job shadows that way too, younger guys. So.
So talk about bears a little bit. How common is it for you guys to retrieve them in Allegheny County in the cities and that?
I actually encountered several bears in Allegheny County. Fayette County, I did a lot more. I dealt with them pretty much a daily basis because I had from Dunbar on the ridge down through the flatland, like North Union Township, around Uniontown, and there's a lot of bears up there.
Because I think a lot of people don't realize just how many bears there are. You hear about them being in Bell Vernon or something, and people, oh my God, is there a bear
Facebook
there?
blows up.
Well, yeah, it's on Facebook, so people make it seem like bears are
They-
rare
they
here.
Big deal, yeah.
I mean, they're on the move. That time of year when it's usually June, they're breeding, they're feeding hard, so they're moving, moving a lot. And in Allegheny County, I dealt with one in Highland Park. I got chased in there, and they had it cornered in a backyard. And by the time I got there, SWAT was rolling up, and they had the place locked down. And the bear was in the front yard at that point, and I walked up, and the bear got up, and he seen me coming, and he kind of lumbered up around the driveway and into the fenced-in backyard. So I just closed the gate on the driveway, and I went in with the bear. And SWAT comes walking up to the gate, and I'm like, "Hey, man, come on in here." And they're like, "No." I'm like, no, come on, check it out. I said, "He's sleeping." So I had called because I know I'm going to need help. I know if this bear leaves this yard, SWAT's going to shoot it. But we're in Highland Park. They don't understand Zone 5 Pittsburgh. Don't understand it's a bear, and he's just lost. He's gotten chased too deep into
The other
city.
bear. It's the other bears.
Well, the call started in Plum, and literally we tracked the
Okay.
calls. You could just see he was headed
Wow.
to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
By the way, the calls, bear spotted crossing this road, bear spotted crossing that road. So I did, Warden from Beaver County went and got a trap because I didn't even have a trap. My truck was 2 blocks away. Warden from Westmoreland County come down, and I told them where I was, and they come up, and we was able to get a dart in that bear and put him down in the yard, put him to sleep, and brought the trap up, loaded the bear in the trap, and took him back up on the mountain.
You didn't have to. He wasn't up in a tree, and you didn't have to push a trampoline under. You
No.
see videos like
No,
that.
he was on the ground the whole time. But I knew if he left that yard, SWAT was gonna it was gonna go bad.
Well, it's funny to think that SWAT was called for a bear
Yeah.
that wasn't
Yeah,
attacking anybody. It's just
Full riot gear, and I mean I was more afraid of the SWAT than the bear. I'm in the backyard with the bear, and he's sleeping. Literally, he was 20 yards from me sleeping. But then the next one I dealt with, I actually caught above the Veterans Street Bridge.
Really?
Yeah, I caught him up at the there's a culinary arts building there. It's just above the Boy Scout building. But I have pictures. I don't have my cell phone, or I'd show you. But the old steel building is in the background, and then I took one of the Veterans Bridge in the background. Caught him right there in Pittsburgh.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, probably the deepest into Pittsburgh that one has ever been caught. I don't know about been seen, but definitely been caught. So.
It's like a competition, and he made it the furthest in.
They were cool. And I tracked him, too. He was seen. I had gotten a call that he was seen in Lawrenceville crossing Penn Avenue 3 days prior. And I don't know, do you know Bigelow Boulevard where it comes up? So there's a wooded hillside. If you're coming into town off of 279 on the Veterans Bridge, you look at that hillside. There's a big cement wall, and there's a wooded hillside. It goes out to the left. He was living on that hillside, coming to the dumpster at the Culinary Arts and going back on the hillside. And
He
was
had it made.
yeah,
was
you had
literally
to figure it
staying
out.
there.
Imagine being a homeless guy in the city and unzipping your tent and seeing a black bear right outside your.
Oh, I'm sure that's happened.
It was a Saturday, and we were in Monroeville looking for an injured goose, and he called, with a bear complaint. And I talked to the guy on the phone. I said, "Tell me what you got." He said, "I got a bear. It's coming to my dumpster, and I run this culinary art school." And he said, "It's a bear. I have surveillance video of it." I said, "All right." I mean, it sounded legit. The guy, he's got a bear, So I went and got my trap before I went down there. And I got there before he got there, and the top of the dumpster is just collapsed. I mean, you could see a bear was working it. Paw prints all over it. I had the trap set before he got there. He pulled in. He's like, "You don't want to see the video?" I'm like, "I don't need to see the video. You got a bear here."
I could look at your dumpster. Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah. So I had that trap set 4 days.
Something like that.
And he called me and he said, you got the bear. So I called my friend Marianne Thomas from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and I said, "Hey, you want a story?"
Yeah.
And she met me there and did a story on it. And she's like, "Why didn't you call me when you set the trap?" I said, "Are you crazy? I mean,
The whole town
the
would be
whole
there.
town would have been
Yeah.
sitting in the parking lot looking for the bear. You know,
Like
you
an
gotta
audience
let me
watching
do
the bear come to the trap.
let me do my job. Then I'll
Yeah.
give you your story."
Right.
You know,
You'd
so-
have a lady there trying to shoo it away.
Me
You
and
know?
me and Marianne had a pretty good relationship. Yeah, I'd call her with the good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, hey. That's something good to kind of see on the news
Yeah.
from time
It's
to time
different.
than all
But
the
I-
negative crap.
But I made sure I caught it first.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so then she got her story.
So did you have to deal with a lot of repeat offenders?
Yeah, from time to time. Yeah, yeah. Usually, once they were dirty, they were going to be dirty.
Known by their first name.
Yeah, yeah.
Then they're
Some
your
some
press.
of them, I've probably spent more time at their tree stands than they did.
So do you think that there were any of them out there that were intentionally trying to play a game with you? Like they knew you were going to look for them, so they just want to see what they could get away with?
Yeah.
He's trying.
Put the decoy car out. Yeah. You know what the decoy car is?
No.
Park the car out that section and hunt a different section.
Okay.
That's the decoy car.
You're talking about the hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys probably would end up doing the same thing. You park a truck at another area and
Maybe.
maybe.
Have you ever had any experience with the robotic deer that was
I was going to ask
that
that.
was
Yeah.
used?
Yeah.
How well does that work?
It works. Are you asking if people have shot it? Absolutely. They shoot it all the time.
Really?
Yep.
You ever have anybody just not open the door at all?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
So how far do you let them go with it? Like I mean, if they're shooting out of the window at this deer, at what point do they realize it's not real?
When
Like,
the red blues come on.
And the deer doesn't move 2 times after they shot. So
I just wonder if any of them ever got to the point of like getting out and going to try to drag the deer. or something.
No. They usually if they got out of the truck, they got out to shoot. Some of them shot from in the truck, but then they were back in it. They realized that, something was up.
So back in a truck and they try
So-
to get away.
you guys
It
have
was always fun being in the nest. The nest is the guy that's working the deer, because you're
Was
just
it like
you,
a Trojan horse?
you
Like you
get
were
the
inside
whole
the
show.
deer?
Yeah, you get the whole show. Then you got your chase vehicle, your block vehicle. So
Yeah.
it was cool.
now they have to fire the weapon,
Mm,
or do they have to create like the act of the will to? I'm probably
The
using
intent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
intent,
it
sorry.
usually leads to shots being fired.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. If they're stopping, they're
Yeah.
shooting. But
Of course, if you have them shooting from in the vehicle, there's loaded firearm in on or
Oh, yeah,
against
you got
the
more.
vehicle while in motion. It can go a whole bunch of different ways. Fleeing and looting depends how far they run.
good shoot. What happened? Were you in jail or whatever? What's the citation? I shot at a robot.
Those things pretty expensive.
Yeah,
Oh, I would
yeah.
imagine.
They're a full size mount, whether it's a standing or bedded. But they got a little RC motor in them that the head turns and the tail flickers, and they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot what I was going to ask.
Now we
That's
don't.
at some timers, man.
We didn't only have robotic deer. We had robotic turkeys, robotic pheasants, robotic coyotes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Robotic pheasants.
didn't know.
Like you actually, I would have thought that pheasant hunters would have been like the
No,
guys
you'd
that
be
just
surprised
wouldn't do
the
anything
guys
illegal.
The road hunt for pheasants.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, Chris, the limit's 2 a day. They got to get the limit.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
Road hunt for pheasants. Here's a new one.
Put it on a little RC car and drive it around.
All you had to do was make its head turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't care if it was walking. make its head turn.
You get more body shots on the deer than head shots, I would
Body
assume.
shots.
Body shots, yeah.
Well, so the interesting thing, if they hit any portion of the deer, like that little RC motor, that they're responsible to replace that. Yeah.
That's a good
Oh.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
makes
mean,
sense.
well, yeah, rightfully so. You damaged our equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. How many hunters did you come across that didn't know that they didn't have on like enough orange or something?
A lot. Yeah. I mean, fluorescent orange was a big thing too, because that's a safety issue.
Right.
It's like safety zones, or, that's just doing dumb stuff, and it could get you killed, But I had a guy in Fayette County that it was first day of deer season, didn't have a lick of orange on. And I felt bad for we were back in the game lands, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna ride you out. No, I'll walk. I'm like, no, you're not walking. I'm gonna get in the truck, I'm gonna ride you out. We got to get you some orange, And I would always carry extra orange hats for, guys that maybe didn't have enough or whatever, and I'd give them an orange hat. But that guy, I rode back out to the parking lot. I wasn't going to let him walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember, I mean, it's been 30 years ago, but taking the hunter safety course, and they would always show that video of the guy with a deer on his back, like walking out with it, and it's dead, and he's wearing like a brown coat. Like,
Yeah.
does this shit really happen? Like, are people that dumb?
Yeah.
he's just, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I don't believe it, but
It just amazes me that anybody would even attempt to do something like that and think that that's a good idea.
There's a lot of people in this world that don't have any common sense, so I'm not even surprised at all.
Most of the time, when they're running around in a season that they're supposed to have orange and they don't have orange, whether they're full camo, they're doing it for a reason. They're probably not allowed to be where they're at. Maybe they don't want to be seen there, whatever. But
Right.
just trying to stay less visual. Unfortunately, that's the worst thing to do.
Right. Yeah.
Put some orange on.
Yeah. I know a guy that hunted in full camo during gun season simply for that reason, out of a tree stand, because he just didn't want
Yeah.
nobody to know he was there. Yeah. And it had nothing to do with the fact that he knew he was doing it. He just, and it wasn't me, by the way. I'm just saying he just didn't want no one to know he was there. And I could never understand why the hell he would take that chance. But
Yeah, orange.
each his own. I guess.
Orange doesn't scare deer. Movement scares
right.
deer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times you've been squirrel hunting 250 square inches of orange and have a deer walk right up to you?
Yeah.
If you don't move, it doesn't get alarmed.
No.
Unless your wife's washing your clothes in some type of high strength cleaner.
Right.
We've established
As
that.
soon as
Yeah.
Soon
we
as
haven't
she
used
moved in,
scented
I said,
laundry
I need to tell you
detergent
something.
in
Palmetto
years.
scented.
I told her, I said,
Gain.
we need to do. Well, I need to tell you something. I said, we're using no foo-foo, smelly laundry detergent in this house.
Well, first
All
it
unscented.
was during season, and then I was like, I'm not going to keep switching. We're just going to stay with the unscented stuff.
Yeah, we just use the all unscented, and then use Dave's the apparition body wash / laundry detergent. Then
Well, that's a
during
good
season.
idea.
Yeah.
You don't ever have to worry about
Yeah, we
any
just
scent on
stay
anything.
unscented all the time.
I let her do it. I say, hey, it's like March, April, June. I was like, if you want to do it, you can do it, but we need to give it like a couple months, and then
I don't care enough. I'm not jonesing to have some good smelling laundry or anything, as long as it's clean. Mom, on the other hand, with her scent beads and everything.
Yeah, I can't win there. I keep my stuff out in the garage.
garage in a bin. So, you guys were in Illinois with us last year.
So let's touch the retirement first, then
Yes.
we'll go
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah.
Illinois.
Okay.
So, you get to a point, 11 years. I was 55. There were some changes that were made in agency. And you can call it what you want. You can call it standby time. You can call it whatever. But when you start mandating overtime, you work in a mill. You know what it's like to be mandated.
Right.
It's not good. It's not fun, especially at 55. I looked at my options. It was a couple years after COVID, 2020. My dad passed away from COVID, and things changed then. You look at life a little different. One day the guy's at home, and the next day he's in a hospital on a ventilator, and 6 days later he's not alive anymore. So at 55, and being mandated, worked hard all my life, I got to the point where I said, you know what? I'm done. I want to go to Illinois. I want to take him to Illinois. I want to be able to do that.
Right.
As a game warden, second week in November, you don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, you're married to that job.
You are not getting leave to go anywhere in hunting season. So I was fortunate. I was physically and mentally capable of getting a good job, Basically work for myself, for another guy, and I collect a pension. Now it's not a pension I can live off of, but at least I got something for the 11 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I weighed my options and played my cards and made a decision.
Yeah.
So now we'll go to Illinois.
It was a good experience.
But people, no, wait. Before you go to Illinois now, so this leads me into so now that you have the new job that you have.
Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, off on the weekends. That job?
Yes.
Well, that's
yeah,
a sweet
one,
job.
Yeah, the one that you love to
You
have
know what
now.
I've been doing the last 2 weeks? I've been telling the guy, like, it's 1:30. Hey, man, I got to go get in a tree. I ain't killed a buck yet. He's like, go ahead.
Yeah, and he lets you.
Yeah.
That's a good boss.
So-
That's a good boss right there.
So while you're doing that job, or because I know that job requires you to move around, you're towing. You're interacting with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Have any of them recognized you
Oh, yeah.
and thought,
Yeah.
I know this
I
guy?
think he's undercover.
He's here now towing this
There's
truck.
that word.
Yeah. So how many people since you've left the agency really truly believe that you're undercover?
A lot. A lot.
That's great. You just play along with it too.
Well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
You're like the
You
undercover.
want to go shoot a deer tonight?
I got the corn.
I cannot confirm. I cannot confirm nor deny.
Yeah, it's a lot. I've had several people. I've had people ask people, "Hey, what's the deal with him? Is he still working for the Game Commission?" I said, "Just tell him maybe he is, maybe he's not."
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I just found that interesting. Like I know I've heard it here at the shop.
Yeah, I was gonna say people
Yeah.
come in and ask
Yeah.
at the shop too. Is like, is Doug still?
But
working?
literally, the first thing I did was quit shaving because we weren't allowed to have any
Facial
hair,
hair,
any
yeah.
facial hair. You could have a mustache. You could have the Hitler mustache. Couldn't pass your lips. Yeah, I quit shaving. Gotten a haircut a couple times. Taken some of the length off, but I got to catch him.
Yeah. Who's winning right
Hey,
now? I
he's
think
letting-
Dean's in the lead.
He's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
got a little longer.
Yeah. It keeps that neck
Free-
warm.
Frequent haircuts every once in a while, but
Yeah.
I've been growing it for 5 years now. So.
Keeps the back of the neck warm in
Yeah.
the late season. You know,
Because you would definitely know.
I do not know. I know when there's too many holes in the back of the hat because I feel that breeze come right in.
So I guess, so another question I had then is when you were still in uniform, did you have people that felt like because they knew you that you were going to let them go if they did something they knew they shouldn't have been doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
This is part of the.
I
undercover.
also so what you learn as an officer too is they'll name drop, like you're a deputy and you catch me and they'll say, "Hey, do you know Doug? I know Doug," and I would always tell them if they drop my name, charge them for everything you can, charge them twice.
Yeah.
Do what you can. Don't let them use my name. I've had guys tell me they knew me from here. Hey, man, I know you. I shoot with you down at Creek Archery.
Okay.
Dude, maybe we were on the range and I was on 1 and you were on 12.
Yeah.
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 The name dropping thing, I've never even been a fan of. I have multiple friends that are troopers and everything like that. And when we got pulled over the one time, I still don't really do it just because I know that he's doing his job.
Yeah.
And it's not like I was doing anything bad. It's I'll mention it to my buddies, after the fact. I let him do his job, and then I'll mention it to them after. But I've never been a name dropping
Yeah.
person,
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
doing their job.
any law enforcement's tough. They love to hate you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing your job.
Right.
I had fun with it. Most of the time, even the guys I would catch doing bad stuff, I could leave on good terms, shake their hands, and I'd usually remember them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I might not have knew who they were before, but if I was writing a citation, I typically would remember them, and and a lot of them, would give me good information after that.
Yeah.
I guess they felt they paid their dues, so
Yeah.
somebody else was going to pay.
Exactly.
It's the next guy's turn.
I've only had one running in with a game warden so far. It was up in Indiana County. My dad, it was the crossover from archery and inline for doe. That, second week of October or something.
Back when you had to wear the orange.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
during
had
the
it.
overlap.
But we were walking back at dark. I didn't put it on. We were
Yeah.
close to the truck. And sure enough, we get back to the truck. Game warden was sitting there. Talked to him, respectful. Yeah, hey, sorry, I didn't. He got it and, gave me a warning. Hey, I'll be back to checking on you. Just here's a warning
Yeah.
this time. But, it was good. We stood around. We bullshitted for half hour, 45 minutes after. It's like, just, hey, what do you got? You guys see anything up here and where we were at? And we're like, yeah, they're seeing some stuff. So, yeah, good interaction, It was good.
Is that how it happened?
I promise.
Well, it's because he
Put you in company.
because he did have it with him. That's
Yeah.
probably why. Because
I
you
had
did
it in
have it
my
with
pack.
him. Yeah, it was in your pack.
It was at night.
Yeah.
I was lazy and
you
didn't put the vest on.
You just forgot to put it
Yeah,
on.
yeah.